Students have determined that they're eligible. They either fit into the first group of post-September 2013 graduates or the second group of pre-September 2013 graduates and have fulfilled all the requirements. So the first step for these students is like every other student. Go to the higher education institution that they wish to apply to and apply. We have all of the higher ed institutions, 4 years, 2 years, local district junior colleges, area vocational schools listed on our website. And so students can click through, find out all of the admissions policies, deadlines, everything like that. And students just need to make sure that they are familiar with those deadlines, with the application process, and everything that's required from the institution's standpoint. Second, students need to make sure that they submit all their paperwork on time. They're in communication with that higher education institution. We're encouraging students to send an email or call that institution's admissions office and let them know, hey, I'm undocumented or I am looking to qualify for an asset. Please make sure that I am not incorrectly classified in your files. We've had issues with the inner workings between CDHE's website and the institution's websites in students being misclassified just because this is a new policy and we weren't necessarily sure of all the repercussions of how students would apply. So we want to make sure that students take every precaution to let the higher ed institution know that they are an asset student. If they fail to meet any of the standard application deadlines or submit all of the required paperwork, they could possibly not be admitted just like any other student. And then third, everyone needs to apply for COF now. Even if they're going to a private school, even if they are going to a local district junior college or area vocational school that does not receive COF, everyone fills out COF. The link is obviously on our website. It's up here on our presentation. And the COF form there's a link to it at the bottom of the homepage of CDHE's website. We want to make sure that each student knows not to use that DACA social security number when they fill out their COF form. This can obviously be very confusing. We've had quite a number of stories around the state where students are putting in their social on COF. It's the first question you're asked. And when students do this, it could potentially result in some negative consequences when they do apply for citizenship down the road. A lot of these documents and these applications are automatically linked into federal aid programs, FAFSA, Pell, things like that. And so it could look like these students are using a false social security number to apply for federal benefits, which is clearly not the case. We've had counselors black out social security numbers on paper, COF applications, and resubmit them. We've had counselors back out student applications and resubmit them without those numbers. We had a story of a student in the community college system that was flagged by the federal government as using a false social security number, and she needed to write letters to all of her higher ed institutions, to the federal government saying, I'm sorry, that is not my intention, this is the situation, and I will not use my social for any federal assistance. So there's been a lot of different circumstances around that. The Department of Higher Education just modified their COF form quite recently. There is the social security number box up there. The red circle goes around the check this box if you do not have a permanent social security number, which is what those asset students need to check. And then there's an asterisk under there that says if you have a DACA social number, do not put this in here. So the department has been excellent in responding to the issues that have arisen, but if you see students putting in that social from their DACA card, take that out of there right away. It could result in some consequences that are absolutely not what these students need to be dealing with. We also have another box where you can click that says that students do not have legal immigration status, and so that's another indication to the higher education institutions and CDHE that these are asset students.
Do you ask that anywhere? Are you an asset student?
We do not say, are you an asset student anywhere? It just says if you do not have legal immigration status or if you do not have a federally issued permanent social security number. And luckily the asterisk that's put under that says if you have a deferred action for childhood arrivals, and this is DACA in parentheses, social, do not put that in there. So that's as explicit as we have gotten. And then CDHE stores all this information. So institutions don't need to be worried about that. There's one more piece to the COF application that asset students need to fill out, and it's a verification of lawful presence, or affidavit, you might have heard it called. We've had this in all different versions of our asset bills throughout the history that we've been working on this. This year we were able to just incorporate it into the COF form. And this is a legally binding document that states that these students have or intend to apply for legal citizenship status when they are able to do so. Well, right now there's no process to do that yet, so there's not something that they could have already done. DACA is a pretty good faith measure that these students are indicating they want to stay here. But this was more of a political piece that was included in the bill so that constituents around the state would know these are students that feel that they are a valuable resource to Colorado and they would like to stay here and have every intention of doing so. There is no notary required with this. There is no follow-up required with this on the part of the student, the higher ed institution, counselors, nothing. It is just an affirmation that is stored over at CDHE. But that is an additional third page on the COF application that is special for asset students. Everyone sees it when they apply, but only asset students fill this out. And then, just to make clear, asset students pay in-state tuition plus COF. So they do not get the other small portions of state aid that our traditional in-state students get. At private schools, their rate is still going to be the same as it always has been. There are quite a few scholarship opportunities and financial opportunities at some of our private schools for undocumented students, and these opportunities have actually existed for years. They're just coming to light a little more now that this is becoming more popular, but students are going to pay the same amount. They still just need to fill out the COF. Same with local district junior colleges, ABS, all of that good business. And then Blanca will cover financial aid with you a little bit more and how that works with our undocumented students since they don't qualify for any federal or state aid other than COF.
So asset and deferred action students will not qualify for Pell Grants. They are not eligible for FAFSA. They're not eligible for work study if the funds for work study are coming from state or federal governmental funds. More and more institutions are looking at potentially creating work study programs that are funneling private funds to eligible students, in which case that is actually okay, and it is in the right of the institution to go ahead and do that. They just cannot be, these students cannot be receiving any type of other state or federal aid or benefits. COF is the only piece that was included in this year's bill, and we're thankful to have, that will support these asset and DACA students. Fortunately, what we do see, and what we're seeing more and more of this, is that private institutions, private individuals and institutions are looking for ways to channel and to fund private dollars, right, non-governmental funds, to the hands of these students to support their education. Scholarships are more and more available, right? Here locally, the Denver Scholarship Foundation just recently changed their policy to open it up to DACA students. And in collaboration with the University of Denver, we're looking to go ahead and create a handbook of scholarships that do not require citizenship or a social security number, and that's relevant for our Colorado students. Fortunately, California and Texas have had a little bit more time than we have, and so a lot of the resources that are currently available will often require, residency in California or Texas, right? So we're working right now as we speak to create a resource handbook for our students here in Colorado. And then I also want to make sure that we name that if a deferred action student has their card, their 2 years of work authorization, they can get employment. And be employed as through the university, they can be employed at the local coffee shop, they can find other types of hourly employment, right? As long as those funds are not being, it's not work study per se, in the traditional way that we've come to understand work study as funneling dollars from state or federal funds, resources. So the other thing that I want to name too as a part of this is, we've had stories of students connecting with members of their community who are willing to pay for a portion of their private donors, are willing to pay for a portion of their college expenses. And so we strongly encourage the collaboration of our community members, right, in supporting our students, because although our students are now eligible for in-state rates, that's still a few $1,000s of money that most of our families don't have in their accounts readily available to pay for their students' education, much less if they have 2 or 3 students wanting to go to college, which is what we hope more and more students are wanting to go to college. So there is other private funds, right, for students to pay even that in-state rate. We just need to make sure that our students know deferred action and asset students, that they do not qualify for any other type of financial aid benefits from the state or federal government. And they also do not qualify for any type of medical benefit